All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming again to join us for another WBL Institute session. We have a lot for you today with the Everfi Toolkit. So we're really excited to get started. We know people are still coming into the room, but we're going to go ahead and begin. So again, we appreciate that you're here. We know you could be elsewhere, and we know there's so much going on in schools this week. So we just really thank you for taking the time. And so moving to the next slide. You're in the right place again at the WBL Institute. If you saw this landing page and you were able to register, we do have the new calendar for quarter 4 already released. And so hopefully you guys have already gone through the process and have started to sign up for those new courses starting in April, on April 7th. So we look forward to seeing you guys for the rest of the school year. And again, just want to reiterate the norms. We want folks to participate in the session. We hope that you will be present, whether you're on or off camera. We do encourage you to speak up live or engage in the chat. And we do want you to leave before you finish the exit survey. So we'll drop that in the chat for you, and we will follow up with resources. And so moving right along to the next slide. Our presenters today, again, myself, Larry Fleming Williams from the CTE team. We also have representation from Everfi in Megan Gallagher and Chloe Sanducci. And then we also have Dr. Savitsky from Thomas Edison High School, who will be speaking a bit about experience with Everfi as well. So turning it over to the Everfi team. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Takia and Larry, for having us today. We're really excited to speak with you all and share a lot of different resources that hopefully will be really helpful for you all. And we're also really excited to have Dr. Savitsky here with us as well, sharing some tips with you all about how she implements the program. So before we begin, would really love to hear from you all who's with us today. You don't have to worry about chatting in your name because it's already there when you chat. But if you could just share out your role with us, whether you're a work-based learning coordinator, CTE teacher, administrator, whatever your role is at the school, and would love to hear too a show you're watching or book you're reading right now, or a recent movie you've watched, really anything you'd like to share as you chat in. And while you're doing that, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Meg Gallagher. I am a senior implementation manager at Everfi. So I help work with teachers and district leaders and all kinds of different staff across the DOE to support implementation of Everfi's programs. So really excited to hear from you all who we've got here today. So thanks so much, Lori, for sharing out. You're a CTE business educator and virtual enterprise coordinator. Awesome. Damaris, a work-based learning coordinator. Great. Jared's a CTE instructor and work-based learning coordinator. Awesome. Awesome. CS teacher, dependent. Okay, great. Awesome. Oh, hi, Audrey. Great to see you from Manhattan TCAC here today, too. Lots of CTE teachers. Great. Awesome. So this gives us an assistant principal. This gives us a really great idea of who's here to kind of share out how you all can access Everfi in different ways. So thanks so much for sharing. With that being said, we'll go ahead and dive in. So our agenda for today is, first and foremost, for those of you that are brand new to Everfi, we will share with you what exactly Everfi is and what we do at Everfi. We will also be sharing out some course exploration of different courses that you can use within CTE classrooms for work-based learning and so on. And we'll share out some CTE alignment specifically around CFM classes. We're going to hear from our guest teacher today, Dr. Savitsky, who's going to share out some tips about how she makes the Everfi courses come to life in her classroom. And then we're going to share additional CTE resources and some scholarship opportunities for your students. And lastly, have a platform deep dive, really making sure you get a chance to dive into the platform and understand how you can use it in your classroom. So I will say I'm presenting first. But my name, like I said, is Meg Gallagher. We also have Chloe here with us as well, in the bottom left corner there. So she's, while I'm chatting, she'll be managing the chat. So if you have any specific questions that come up as I'm talking, please do not hesitate to chat them in. And as Chloe's presenting, I will be managing the chat on my end as well. So like I said, any questions that come up, please feel free to chat them in. And also on our DOE implementation team, in addition to me and myself and Chloe, is Jenny Nakamura, who is our senior director of our team and is our district director that works really closely with our district leaders across the Department of Education. And we also have Pooja, who is actually working on another training this afternoon for DOE teachers, but she is another implementation manager on our team as well. So you may have heard of some of us before or hear from some of us in the future. And so what is Everfi? So we are a network of thousands and thousands of schools across the country, and we work really closely with schools across the DOE as well. In addition to the schools we work with, we're also a network of tons of different partners that share our mission. And these partners, for example, we work with the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Giants, a lot of sports teams across the DOE. We work with MasterCard and UBS and Citizens Bank and so on. And all of these different partners we work with to fund our education, our educational curriculum for schools that helps make it be free of cost. So mentioned a couple of these sponsors already, but you can see just an example of some of the sponsors that we work with across the DOE. And they're really able to make all of our programs that we have for New York City DOE students be completely free, and they will always be free. So we will never charge schools for our resources. And in addition to the digital curriculum itself that we'll dive into, we also have ongoing professional development opportunities, ongoing support. So you saw my name, Chloe's name, and Pooja's name up on that screen. We work directly with DOE teachers, work-based learning coordinators, and so on to provide support to make sure you feel really confident implementing these resources in your classroom. And then lastly, because of our partners, we're also able to offer various special events throughout the year. So with UBS, we've been doing some career prep and elevator pitch workshops for some schools across the DOE. If you're a school in Brooklyn, you may have heard about our Nets STEM Day that we have coming up with the Brooklyn Nets that we're hosting live. So thanks to these partners, we're able to do a lot of really cool, fun events and scholarship programs across the DOE. So I know myself when I'm in trainings, I like to kind of dive in as I'm listening. So if you are one of those people, please feel free to access your Everfi account right now if you would like to, as I'm speaking and kind of showing you some of the courses. So if you are a DOE teacher, so if you are a CTE teacher, if you have rosters assigned to you in any way, you will already have an Everfi account through the TeachHub portal. So if you are a rostered teacher and you have rosters assigned to you in the STAR system, you will be able to log into TeachHub. And awesome, thanks for sharing that link, Chloe. So you can log into TeachHub, you can click on the K-12 tab, and then Everfi lives within Clever. So if you go into the Clever app, you will see Everfi there. So any rostered teacher, feel free to go ahead and dive in and kind of explore as I'm chatting. And yes, Lori, I'm glad you mentioned that. That is something we're working on for next school year, is kind of planning out a playlist. So I'll chat a little bit more about that as I'm talking about the courses. Now, if you are not a rostered teacher, so if you are an assistant principal or a work-based learning coordinator, if you don't have rosters assigned to you or something, you actually won't have access to Everfi through Clever, but you are more than welcome to still create your own account. So if you are not a rostered teacher through the DOE, you can still create a free account at everfi.com/new teacher. So feel free, if you'd like to dive in and explore as well, you're more than welcome to set up an account that way if you are not a rostered teacher. We'll share more about the platform in a bit from Chloe. But like I said, just wanted to share this with you up front in case you wanted the opportunity to dive in as I'm chatting. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the courses that we have available that align really closely to CTE curriculum, CFM standards, and really preparing students for post-secondary readiness. So all of our courses are based on we focus at Everfi really on whole child education and preparing students for the real world. So all of our courses are based on the 8 dimensions of wellness that were created from Samsha. So you'll see there's the social and emotional side of wellness, just making sure that students are taking care of their mental well-being. There's also financial wellness and preparing students to understand how to manage money and manage a budget and invest their money and save for the future. And there's all those other dimensions, spiritual, in terms of helping students in some of our mental wellness courses, helping students practice mindfulness and being present in the moment, and intellectual wellness and so on. So all of our courses that we offer throughout our full suite of curriculum is really helping to foster this idea of these 8 dimensions of wellness. So this is our overview of all of the courses that we offer at Everfi. So you can see we have quite an extensive list. We'll make sure to kind of pare this down for you in more bite-sized pieces, but you'll see the kind of overarching themes of courses that we offer. And if you go into your catalog within the Everfi account, you will see these courses offered underneath different sections within the catalog in your Everfi account. So we have financial wellness courses and financial education, and then there's also STEM and career exploration focus courses and so on. So to kind of pare this down a bit, these are our recommended CTE courses that most closely align either to CFM standards or career readiness in general. So the ones that are highlighted are kind of the core courses that you'll see. And if you look into the Everfi toolkit that's been shared and the resources that are shared in this toolkit, you'll actually notice that there's an NYC DOE CTE course guide. So if you click into this guide, and this is something you'll have access to moving forward, you will see all of these courses that are broken down within this guide here for you. So you can kind of have an idea of which courses might be most closely aligned to what your students are learning, either in CFM or in general. So these courses are all listed out on the guide for you, and you can also see the breakdown of how many lessons are built into each course, how long each course is, and so on. So that is there for you. And then in addition to this, I'm going to kind of dive into some of the courses so you can see exactly what they look like. So all of these courses, the content is already created and they are meant to be fully asynchronous and self-paced for students. So you assign these courses to your students, and then the students are able to go through however many lessons are within the course. So we're going to dive into pathways first, and you'll be able to see on this guide that pathways is 5 lessons in total that are about 15 minutes each. So students can work through the entire course in a little under 1.5 hours. So again, this is fully self-paced and asynchronous. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this course, but first wanted to share a little bit about the philosophy behind Pathways when it came to creating this course. So Pathways is our financing higher education course that really works to demystify higher education. So it gives students very relatable scenarios as they're working through the course, and it's really working to make the course relevant to all students. So it's very interactive for students. It's requiring problem solving skills throughout, and it's really relatable to students' own perspectives, which I'll show you how that works in just a bit. And it's really providing an immersive experience for students while also reflecting a very diverse audience throughout the course as well. And so I'll go ahead and show you now what Pathways looks like to give you an idea of when students log into their platform, what exactly they will see. So Pathways Financing Higher Education, you'll notice if you've already added some courses to your Everfi dashboard, every course is going to have this View Course button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Oh no, it looks like it logged me out. Give me one moment here. So when you click on the View Course button, let me log back in here. One moment. I will pull
And
up.
Meg, while you're logging back in, Larry or Takia, could you share in the chat the folder? Some of the people are asking where the toolkit is, just so that they can access that.
Sure, that's no problem. We usually save the resources for the end, but I'll go ahead and put it in the chat.
Okay. And also, I know one other question was, will this recording be sent out?
Yes, we always send out the recording 1 to 2 days after the workshop, and everyone who has registered, whether or not they attended, will get that information.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So I'm logged back in here now. So let me go ahead to our view course button here. This is our demo account, so I have every single possible course on this dashboard. So when you click on view course, this is what it looks like when students log in on their end. So you'll see Pathways is oops, accidentally logged out of that there. There we go. So Pathways consists of 5 lessons that are all going to have a pre and a post assessment built in. So on your end, as someone administering these lessons to students, you're going to be able to see their pre and post assessment grade with each of these 5 lessons. Now, the first part of this course, though, like I mentioned before, the course is really aimed to make it very relatable for students and very personalized. So before the students dive in, there's this identifying your goals lesson. So when I click start on that, they're introduced to Mr. Jones. And now I will say I have this tab muted right now, but these courses are all fully narrated to the students. So they'll be able to hear this read aloud as well if they would like to as they're working through the course. So you can see Mr. Jones here, and Mr. Jones is a counselor who's going to help the students kind of self-assess themselves so they can think through their own goals for higher education and what they may like to get out of it. So they're going to be asked these questions about how they feel about higher education, about what their thoughts are about higher education, and so on. So for the sake of time, I'll just click through these quickly, but feel free if you want to click view course on your dashboard, you're more than welcome to kind of explore this more in depth. But after they take this self-assessment, they're going to get this portfolio that kind of breaks down their goals. So they're able to think about why they might want to pursue higher education and why that's a right fit for them. So this is all broken down, personalized to the students, and they're able to work through this course from their own perspective. So once they do that quick self-assessment at the beginning, they'll then be able to work through any of these different modules that's going to break down all these different topics around financing higher education. So helping them think through different scholarship opportunities, financial aid opportunities, how to find the best ROI on higher education and the best match for them, and so on. And it's meant to be really relatable to students and give them a lot of different perspectives. So they meet Shyla in this lesson, and Shyla visits a university with her cousin and is able to speak with a couple of fellow students who are able to share their own perspectives about what choice they made and whether or not they would do it again. So it's really interactive for the students. It's going to have a pre and a post assessment built in, and you'll be able to track their growth as they work through these courses. So that's a little bit of a quick dive into what this course looks like. And you can see the general overview of the 5 lessons that are included within this course. And like I said, it's all completely asynchronous, self-paced, and really meant to be personalized based on students' own interests. And every course, to give you an idea of kind of how they're laid out as students are working through these lessons, they are all going to have a pre-assessment and a post-assessment built in. So they'll do that pre-assessment first, a quick 5-question assessment to see what they already know. They'll be introduced to the new material. They'll have a new learning and application phase where they're working through problem solving activities. And then there's going to be a wrap-up activity before they take the post-assessment. So that is just one of our many courses that we offer around financing higher education. And this Pathways course has a scholarship built in with it as well. So Chloe is going to share a bit more about the scholarship opportunities, but this course itself has its own scholarship that we'll share with you a little bit more also. So the next course I wanted to show you all that's really relevant to CTE and just preparing students for the future is Keys to Your Future College and Career Readiness. So this course is going to teach students all about everything from life goal setting and short and long-term goal setting. It's going to teach them about skills they can develop to succeed in high school, how to advocate for themselves, how to write a cover letter, really all these real-world skills. So I'll give you a little sneak peek on this screen here into the lesson itself. And I saw a question come in too about choosing the language of their choice when they go through the asynchronous lessons. That's a great question. So we do have, I'll actually show you later on, we do have a few courses that are translated into Spanish. We're working on growing out our library even more. But that Pathways course that I just showed, you can translate that into Spanish. And we'll show you the other courses that you can translate into that will be modifiable into Spanish as well. Absolutely. Thanks for your question. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and show you this little preview of the Keys to Your Future course as well. And I'm showing you these courses up front because we're going to show you a CFM alignment guide in a bit that shows you how these courses align to CFM. And so this, I mentioned the Keys to Your Future course has the short and long-term goal setting activity. So this course, it was showing you that at the start, and then you can see another example of a lesson here where students are thinking about how to prioritize their time. So this course is really aiming to give students a really holistic view of soft skills that they need to be successful in the future, both in college, in careers, and so on. So it's helping students think through different prioritization activities, different goal setting activities, and so on. And it's, again, just meant to be really interactive for the students as they work through these courses. So that is Keys to Your Future. And then something else that I wanted to share also, I mentioned before that every course is going to have a pre and a post assessment built in. So you can see here we have, this is our data from last school year, and this is specific to the DOE. So across the DOE, we had almost 60 schools that participated in this Keys to Your Future program. So 86 teachers implemented this Keys to Your Future program in their classroom. And the growth data across the DOE, you can see in that bottom left corner. So the preparing in high school data on the pre-assessment students were mastering the lesson at 69% mastery. After taking that preparing in high school lesson, they were mastering that lesson at 84% mastery. So you can see the different growth and knowledge gains that students had within all of these different courses that they took. So that's our data for Keys to Your Future. And then for the sake of time, I have just a few more minutes left in my section, so won't dive into this one as deeply, but our MarketWorks Investing Basics course is another course that we have, and that will be, again, on the guide for you all, so you can see kind of what's covered in this course and also what focus there is as well and how long each lesson is. But the MarketWorks course teaches students investing basics, and we have another scholarship that's part of this course. So we're going to share more about that with you all also. And then you can see, again, knowledge gains in the bottom left corner. We're seeing significant knowledge gains as students are learning these investing skills, learning about going from a startup to an IPO for businesses, and teaching students these additional life skills. And so this is a little bit more of an overview about the educator benefits that you are getting as you're using these resources in your classroom. So already mentioned the data. You are going to get live data to track student progress and student growth. But in addition to that, we're also going to have additional discussion questions, curriculum guides, lesson plans, and so on. And Dr. Savitsky is going to share a bit more about how she uses discussion questions in her classroom to kind of continue students learning synchronously as well. You're going to have access to additional webinars that we'll offer throughout the year, and additional ways to engage with our teachers. And then I've also mentioned a few times these scholarship opportunities that we'll share more about in a bit. So our impact across the DOE. One thing to note is that all of these courses, so if you go to this guide that has the breakdown of all the courses, you'll see within this, how many total course hours there are. Anytime the student completes the entirety of a course, so let's say they go through Pathways, Financing Higher Education, like I mentioned, if they complete all 5 lessons, they will have an hour and a half of learning hours, and they will also get certified in that topic. So that certification is something that can be printed off for students, and it's also something that you can encourage your students to add to their resumes. So you'll see within the toolkit, we have shared out a sample resume that shows students how they can put these certifications on a resume to continue to show that they've, built out their skill sets and have gotten certified in different content areas. We also have events that we will run throughout the year. So if you are active on these programs, let's say you use the Keys to Your Future program, and UBS is having elevator pitch workshops. And UBS will come to us and say, hey, we want to partner with a school that is using our Keys to Your Future program and offer them elevator pitch workshops. We will reach out to our teachers that have used these programs in their classrooms and let them know about these workshops, and we'll partner with you to help get these volunteers to work with your students. So that's something else to keep an eye out for as well, that we run throughout the year. And one other thing that I wanted to share before we get into the standards alignment is how our courses are supporting English language learners and students with disabilities. So there's a few different ways that these are supporting learners of all different abilities and all different English proficiency levels. One way is that the courses are all fully narrated. So as the students are learning this content, it's being supplemented with read aloud text. There's going to be vocabulary development built into the programs as well, which we know is really great for English language learners, especially as they're able to learn different words and also have the complement of the images on the screen. So they'll be able to, learn these different skills and also see images that are complementing the text about what they're learning about. The courses are also fully self-paced, so students can take their time on these lessons and they can always revisit it if they need to. And as someone mentioned earlier, we do have courses available in Spanish as well. And this is something we're working on continuing to grow out. So we have Pathways that I mentioned, the Financing Higher Education courses in Spanish. Our core financial literacy course called Everfi Financial Literacy is in Spanish, and our digital wellness and safety course is available in Spanish as well. So before I pass it off to Dr. Savitsky to share some strategies about how she uses Everfi with her CTE classes, I wanted to share the CFM standards alignment. So I know someone had asked about work-based learning hours, and that is something we're still working on getting some more clarity around from the State Department. But one thing that you definitely can do right now is implement these courses into your CFM classes. And we have direct standards alignment guides that show you how our courses can align to different CFM standards. So we have here the career management, the 8 career management standards, and you all will have access. I put in a condensed version of this deck that has this guideline in there, but you can see all of the different lessons that you can implement to cover these different standards. So if you're working on covering career management standard 1 on career development, you'll see there's 2 lessons from the Keys to Your Future program that you can have students complete that will directly align to that standard. And the same goes for the financial management standards. So a lot of the lessons from our financial literacy course are going to directly cover these standards that you're teaching. But then we also have, Pathways, the Financing Higher Education course that will cover a couple of the other standards that you can see on this guide. Our Investing Basics course is going to fully dive into the interest part of things and so on. So this guide will be available to you in the toolkit as well. So you can use this to have these courses that are directly teaching the content from your CFM standards. With that being said, I will go ahead and transition it off to Chloe and Dr. Savitsky to share a little bit about how Dr. Savitsky uses these courses to teach her CTE classes.
Wonderful. And I know that Dr. Savitsky, you're on this call, so feel free to come off mute, and to also, if you want to turn your camera on, you can do that. But do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell everyone what you teach and the school that you teach at?
Sure, sure. So, hello everyone. I'm Margaret Savitsky. I am the CTE medical assisting teacher at Thomas Edison CTE High School. I've been teaching this program. We officially got approved back in 2016. I just went through my second approval, but we've been doing the program probably closer going back to 2013.
Awesome. And I'm just going to ask you a couple questions that to guide the things that we have on the slide. But the first question I'm going to ask is, can you tell us a little bit more about why you use Everfi and how this has been helpful for you as well as students?
Sure. So I discovered Everfi towards the end of last school year. We were already in quarantine, teaching remotely. I had been doing something different for CFM, and I was scrambling to try to figure out ways to teach lessons in CFM. And a colleague had mentioned that you were holding one of these informational webinars. So I jumped on board, and as I started to learn about the different courses that were available, I saw how it could easily be added into what I already had for CFM. So we really only got started in June. I mean, it was that late of the year that we got started. The kids took to it like fish to water. They loved it. So I decided that's it. It's now permanently part of my curriculum for it usually is part of CFM, but if you remember some of the courses that they were offering, some of them also tie in specifically related to healthcare. So I'll bring those courses into my medical assisting program as well.
Great. And could you elaborate a little bit more on, why you think or what you possibly heard from students, why this is something that they enjoy doing possibly over a different resource or alongside other resources?
Yeah. So when I added it, I was thinking of it as being an extra and was worried about pushback from the kids that, they felt too overwhelmed with the amount of work they were doing already. And what I have found since doing this last year, when I make an assignment for the students to go through one of these programs, usually what we do is I'll break it down. As Megan had said, there was some of the programs have 5 lessons. So I'll make it a requirement they have to do one lesson each week. But when I go and I check the grades on how they're doing on quizzes, they've finished all 5. So once they're involved, they seem to be hooked. It's almost like binge watching TV programs. They enjoy that it's animated. They enjoy that, there's a voiceover. They enjoy that they're following the story of Chloe and how she's getting through college rather than just dry didactics of information. The fact that they can, click on questions, that they get a quiz, and also your program allows them to redo the quizzes. So, my students are all about getting the good grades. So this is sort of reassuring that if they don't do well the first time, they can go back and retake it and they're doing well with it. So nobody has said anything negative. We just recently finished doing 306 and 306. The story continues as part of Black History Month. So even though this had nothing to do with medical assisting directly, the part of it was presented to students as you're going to be working with very diverse communities. You need to learn about where your patients are coming from. And the students were floored to learn the information that was included. And then we just finished BINA, which talks about anti-Semitism. And again, today, my lesson got put to the side because we could not stop discussing things that it brought up for them and ideas. So the kids really love it. It generates some great conversations, and they consistently come back and say, I had no idea. I had no idea. And this comes from kids who come from the same background as the 306 program. And they were saying this was, interesting to see it all written out.
Great. And you spoke a little bit about this, but maybe you can get a little more in depth. I know a lot of people on this would love to hear about how you use the courses and how you assign lessons. How do you put this into your curriculum? What are the different tactics you use?
Okay, so it depends on which program it is, but having these lessons where I get all the resources makes it easier for me to make lesson plans. Sometimes, for each lesson, you have to pull out an aim to start off. So I'll pick something out of either the resource, or I've been watching these videos as well. So I'll pull out something specific from the videos so that I know that the students were actually watching it. So it may be an aim. If there's a quiz, sometimes that's the only assignment. If it's not, then I may add to it, asking questions that they have to answer, that once they watch the program, they'd be able to answer the question. So I can use as much or as little as I want. I do not follow it, from the first line to the last line, which makes it very easy for me, that it can be done asynchronously. And if they go through the program and they do well on the quizzes, then I know that the material was taught. I don't have to be boring and lecture to them about it.
Yep, and I know that right now Meg is pulling up some of the additional resources, which in just a moment I'm going to go through a platform deep dive, show you how to use this. But what I would like to hear from you, Margaret, is just a little bit more on how you use those additional resources that we have. So of course you could click into the actual course and do the 3 hours of it or the 1 hour of it, but how do you use those additional resources, the discussion guides, to support your curriculum and make it a little bit easier on yourself to implement these courses without actually doing them?
Yeah, so that's the whole point, is having these discussion guides. I've been using Google Classroom this year, so I can just literally copy and paste a line from the discussion guide, change it into a question instead of it being a statement. And the students may have to write it up, or it's something that we're going to discuss in class. So it's all there written for me, that I can pick and choose. And if we haven't done anything very extensive so far this year. And like I said, CFM for me, every school apparently does CFM different. Some years at my school, it's been a separate teacher, that it's part of their schedule. They're with me for medical assisting, and then they had a separate class for CFM. Now it's been sort of incorporated with my program. I see my students 5 days a week, double periods. So 1 period a day for 11th and 12th grade is dedicated to CFM, and that satisfies the amount of minutes that were required for CFM. So some weeks we just dedicate a period. Some weeks it becomes such a hot topic that I have to sort of shift things, and we'll spend a whole day doing it, or the student will bring something up the next day about it. But it's ongoing. So depending on what the program is, like I said, sometimes I tell them they have to do 1 module in the program each week, and when it takes us 5 weeks to get through it, because we only get to spend 40 minutes talking about it. And sometimes I find that, you know what, I'm going to ask you to do the whole thing over the weekend, and let's come back next week and let's discuss the whole program as a whole. So it's very adaptable to what's going on, week to week with my classes.
Great. And I love the questions that came into the chat, and I think Margaret answered a lot of them. But if you do have more questions, feel free to put those in and I'll field them to her. But my next question kind of moves to the scholarships, because I know that you have a wonderful story about this. So we want to know, how have you used the scholarship opportunities offered by Everfi to engage your students even more so in these programs?
So last year, like I said, somebody said to me, oh, Everfi is doing this webinar. And I logged on just to find out what it was. And somebody who was presenting said, oh, in fact, there was a certain date, or maybe it was in May, because I think your cutoff was June 1st. So it was in May that I logged on to this, and they said, oh yeah, and we offer a scholarship. So my ears perked up immediately, because I teach 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And Everfi was willing to offer it to even the 10th graders, right? Because a lot of scholarships are 12th graders heading off to college. And I brought it back to my class and I said, listen, I'm not making this mandatory. Next year it's going to be mandatory assignments, but this year, if you're interested, you have to do, and I misunderstood. I thought they had to do the whole program. And apparently it was only so many modules in the program. So I said, you'd have to watch this program. They want you to write a brief essay about what did you learn, how are you going to implement it. You're not doing research. There's no citations. You don't have to, get very fancy, but just write from your heart what you felt. And then I didn't hear another thing. And none of this. And I said, if you want me to help, look at your essay, I'm happy to look at your essay. Never heard another word from my students. In the middle of the summer, I get an email from Everfi. Congratulations, your student who was a 10th grader won. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I called up, I think it was Chloe, and I said, oh my gosh, she won. And she said, yes, she doesn't even know yet. We only told you. So I emailed the student and I said, listen, it's very important. I need to speak to your parents. So I need you to log on to Zoom. Here's the link. I need both your parents to be present on this call. So that I didn't tell the kid why. And she says, well, my parents are quite busy. Perhaps you could tell me and I'll relay the message. And I said, no, everybody has to be on camera. So go get your parents. And her sister is actually, she was an 11th grader. She's now in 12th grade. So they log onto the camera and the four of them look like I was about to say their daughter had failed the class or something. And I got to be the one to say, you won $1,000. You just won $1,000 for the scholarship to college. Her father started to cry. Her sister just looked at her and I teased the sister. I said, well, see, you could have done the work too and got the $1,000. So then we announced it on Google Classroom. Everybody needs to congratulate so-and-so. She just won $1,000 through Everfi. I got so many emails from kids. Is it too late? Can I do it? Can I try it now? So now my kids are primed. So they participated in the fall. They're going to do it again, for the spring scholarships. But it gives them another incentive. But I think even without the scholarships, the kids are sold on it. They enjoy it. I get great feedback from it. So they just keep saying, can we do more? Can we do more? Can we do more? So I just keep adding different programs to the roster of classes, but I try to schedule it so it relates to what I'm doing in class.
And that is a great segue. If Meg, you can go 2 slides to talk a little bit more about the scholarships. So just as Margaret was referring to, and when Meg talked about our sponsorship model, sometimes our sponsors will run their own scholarships, just like last year with Margaret's student. She won the MarketWorks scholarship.
Yeah.
So that was Citadel. That was coming from Citadel. Sometimes some of our other sponsors will run a scholarship, and then sometimes Everfi itself runs a scholarship. Right now, we have 3 very important scholarships for the New York City DOE students. So we have one specific one listed there. It says NYC DOE Financial Wellness Scholarship. That's for any financial education course, and it's only for students in the DOE. Then there's those MarketWorks scholarships. They are going to be giving out 10 $1,000 scholarships to students who work on the MarketWorks program. And that is only being picked from 3 states. It's Chicago or Illinois, New York, and New Jersey. So again, they have a very good chance, just as we'll show you in a moment how many winners we had last year in New York City. And then lastly, we have another one for the Pathways Scholarship that's sponsored by Citizens. That's going to be a $500 scholarship. I know this is a lot of information, but the takeaway here is there are multiple opportunities for your students to win scholarships. And one student could use, let's say, the same essay if they do the Pathways course. That's a financial education course. So they can apply to the NYC DOE scholarship as well as the Pathways with the same essay and have the opportunity to win both of them. And we're happy to kind of break these down for you and explain them a little bit more. But on the next slide, you'll see a little bit of the impact from last school year scholarships. So on the right side, you'll see the MarketWorks one. For example, they ran that scholarship in the fall and in the spring. And throughout that, we had 22 winners in the DOE. And again, that's coming from students in Chicago, in New Jersey, in New York, and 22 of them won. And I think they only gave out, I think it was, I'm not even sure, like 30 in total, something like that, Meg. And then on the left side, you'll see our Everfi scholarship. This is a general one that we run throughout the nation. We had one DOE winner, and that's K-12, one winner in the DOE. But just as you saw on that other side, there's even more opportunities for your students to get those scholarships. We also are going to be running some workshops for students. We'll give you some more information about that coming up about these scholarship opportunities because we have some tips for them. We want to make sure that they type it up in a Google Doc and someone looks over it and edits it because a lot of times that doesn't happen. And they have a very great chance of winning these. So we're happy to give you more information. And I believe we did put the form specifically for the DOE scholarship into the toolkit that Takia sent out, and it will be sent out at the end. But thank you so much, Dr. Savitsky, for jumping on this and for speaking on behalf of Everfi. If you have any questions, put those into the chat for her. In the last couple minutes, I'm just going to do a quick platform deep dive for those of you who are following along on your account, or just if you want to see what this looks like to implement on the educator side. So when you log on, again, for those of you who are rostered teachers, you have rosters in STARS, you are going to go through Teach Hub. And we have, again, the directions in that toolkit. When you go through Teach Hub, or for those of you who are not going through Teach Hub, this all looks the same. There's one small difference that I'll talk about in a moment. So this is your home screen. In order to check out courses a little bit further, as well as share it with students eventually, you can look at the catalog by either clicking catalog or add course. When you do that, you'll be able to search through our catalog. You can click add for any course that you're interested in. If it says request, feel free to click that as well. That'll send me, Meg, or Pooja an email saying that you're requesting a course. We will fulfill the request and let you know that we did it. And then once you click add, it's going to go back onto your home screen. In order to share a course with students, you do have to add it to your home screen. And once you do that, this is how you can share it with students. So I'm going to go through the process of those of you who are going through Teach Hub, and I'll talk about the difference in just a moment. So for everyone, you'll click Create Class, that green button. And when you do that, for those of you going through Teach Hub, you're going to see a drop down, just like you see in that picture there. And that drop down has all of your rosters that are pulling in from STARS. For those of you who are not going through Teach Hub, there won't be a drop down. That's the main difference. From there, you'll fill out the rest of the form. You'll fill out the information. You can share as many or as little courses with students at the same time as you want. And then when you finish creating that class at the very end, you will see that class that you created under the tab in the center that says classes. So this is, again, one of the big differences between those of you who are going through Teach Hub and those of you who aren't. If you're going through Teach Hub, you're going to see a little note there on the right side that says Clever Integrated. And your students are good when they log on the next time. They're going to see the information that you share with them, the course. For those of you not going through Teach Hub, it's going to have a little pop-up that probably came up with a code, and you're going to just give students that code, very similar to Google Classroom, in order for them to have access. And again, I know this is a little bit quick and we have different people who are going through different routes. Please reach out to us, fill out the Google form that we put in at the end of this, and we can help you one-on-one, but the process is the same for everyone. So after you share the courses with students, you're going to see all of their names listed under that Students tab, and that's also where you'll be able to get those certificates, and they'll be able to download their certificates. And then, just as Dr. Savitsky was talking about with the grading, especially because most of you are teaching within high school, you're looking at grades, you'll be able to track how students are doing under the tab that says Reports. So this is a screenshot, an example of what it looks like when you have students working on the courses. You'll see all of their names listed. You're going to see their grades to their post assessments listed like a spreadsheet. And then you can click into an individual student where it says view there on the left, and you'll get a little pop-up that shows, or you'll see the pop-up of that specific student, how they're doing. So you can see the pre-assessment score, the post-assessment score, see their growth. You can also see what date and time they took it, which is really important during remote learning when we're setting deadlines and saying, please have this done by, 12 p.m. on Friday. I know that I've had many conversations with Dr. Savitsky about this student said they did this and can you help me with that and so on. But it is a really helpful tool when you are setting those deadlines and you're not physically in person with the students. You can also click on a score and you'll see how many times they took the quiz. So I know someone asked before about retaking a quiz. All of our courses are broken into little mini lessons, or we call them modules. And there's a quiz. There's a pre and a post assessment for every single one of those modules. You can see here, if a student doesn't get a 70 or above, which is what our system considers passing, they can retake the quiz and they can do it as many times as they want. You can also manually edit their quiz score if you would like to do that. A couple other functions. So that's the basics of how you would use this as the educator, but back on your home screen, next to create class, you can view the course as if you're a student. You can do this for every single course. This will take you into the student experience. It's fun to check it out for a little bit, maybe do like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of it, but we don't want you to have to do the entire course to figure out what's going on. So next to that is where you're going to find this resource button. And when you click that, for every single course, we have additional resources. The best place to start is the outline and the curriculum guide. This is where it's going to list every topic that students see within the course. That's where you can really match it up to your curriculum and say, okay, I'm teaching budgeting in this week. This is going to supplement and help me as an assignment. And then from there, there's also additional lesson plans. There's those discussion guides, there's reflection questions, and you can find a lot more underneath that resources tab. And for students to access this, you'll see on the next slide, they're going to do the same exact thing that you did of going through Teach Hub. So whether or not you went through Teach Hub, your students will go through Teach Hub using their NiceNet credentials, using their DOE email. They're going to do the same thing, click on K-12, click on the blue Clever icon, and then eventually click on that Everfi app, and they'll be on Everfi, and they'll see the course that you shared with them. And Meg's kind of shown an example. And we have in the toolkit, we have our own NYC DOE toolkit. We have a one-page document. It looks just like this that takes students through the steps of how to log into Teach Hub for the very first time. This is something you can actually post on Google Classroom. You can say your assignment for Friday is follow this guide and log into Everfi. Here are the steps, and you'll see who registered and who didn't do it. So that's just one idea that we have there. And this is what it looks like for students when they're working on the programs and working on the platform. They will just see the courses that you shared with them. They'll be able to see their progress. They'll click continue. They can click in for 5-10 minutes. It'll save their progress. They don't have to finish these lessons in one sitting. But as you heard Dr. Savitsky said, some of them might finish the entire course in one sitting. It's not the recommended use, but they can do that if they want. And they'll also be able to download their certificate from this page here. So lastly, Meg is going to, actually I can chat it in, Meg, since you are sharing your screen. I'm going to chat in the Google form for you to fill out. I just chatted in right there to get additional support. So again, we all support different boroughs, but if you accidentally reach out to me, but you're in Manhattan, that's okay. I can help you and we can all help each other, and I'll introduce you to Meg. But please fill out that Google form. We want to help support you. You can, Dr. Savitsky can vouch for me. You can text me, you can call me, email me. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can and try to troubleshoot. But that is exactly our job, is to help you with any tech questions, any curriculum questions. If you need help, if you actually want us to support you in your class virtually, we can join your class, help them get set up. However you need help, that's what our job is, to help you. And
Yeah,
from
and
there,
if I could just jump in, I have called Chloe so many times. I'm surprised she's not blocking my number. But they get back to you. It's amazing how fast they get back to me with problems that I have. But Chloe, in the chat, a lot of people were mentioning that they have multiple classes. They want them together. So I know you're not going to go over it now, but I just want to vouch. Chloe did help me figure it out, because whether they were virtual or they were live, remote or in school, I do it for my 12th grade and my 11th grade. I had like 8 different classes, and we managed to merge them into these are my seniors, these are my juniors. So you can have it separate and you can have it together.
Exactly. Yes. And that is definitely something, especially just when we're in a bigger training right now, it's harder to help one-on-one. But if you fill out that form, we will follow up with you and we can have this one-on-one discussion with you and look at it with you and figure out what's going on and make this simple, because we don't want to make your life harder. That is not what we're here to do. So at this point, what I'm going to do is we have a section for questions, but I know that Larry and Takia had this 10 minutes blocked off for questions. So I will pass it off to them. We will stay on for any specific questions. Meg, if you want to quickly put that next steps slide up. So just the next steps, determining, how you want to go about this. If you're ready to implement, go for it. If you need additional support, fill out that Google form. We can help you out. And then also planning where this fits into your curriculum. And through implementation, we will check in and see how it's going. And we're here to help you in any way that you need. But I will pass it over to Takia and Larry to close out. And we will stay on for any questions that there are in the chat.
Thank you so much, Chloe and Meg. This was wonderful. We appreciate you, Dr. Savitsky. Thank you for your time. All of these resources are here, and I will pass it back to Larry to go over what else we have to offer.
Thanks to Kia, and thanks to Everfi. Thank you to Megan. Thank you to Chloe from Everfi. Great resources. Thank you to Dr. Savitsky from Thomas Edison High School. Kia is going to drop the link for our exit survey. Please fill those exit surveys out before you leave or right after you leave. The second link is actually to all of our upcoming Institute events. We have the new calendar up for all of our events from April all the way through June 16th. Along with that, you will also find information on the WBL bootcamp, which will be taking place from April 7th throughout April 28th. The last link is also for our resources. We'll lead you to the resource folder, which Takia shared earlier, but just in case you didn't go to it yet, the link is there. The video will be dropped in the folder within the next 2 days, so look out for that as well. And once on behalf of myself, Takia, Megan, Chloe from Everfi, and Savitsky, thank you and have a good afternoon.